Okay, now we're going to work a little backwards here. We're going to start at the very end where it's already printed off the printer. As you can see, I have the label printed off the printer here. We're going to print 2 labels on a page. So that's going to save some paper here. And that's what I like about doing it this way. So now it's printed off. I'm going to set it on the template here. I don't have one of those squeegee things, so I just use this as one of those small Awesome cards, which works quite fine, actually. Now I'm going to put in my scoring blade and run this through. Now I always put it off to the left here till it just hits the wheels. Because remember, you made your SVG file, you're trying to line it up to the print, so you want to do everything the same every time. I'm just sharpening my blade here on some tin foil while that's going through. So right now it's adding all the scoring lines where the folds are on this particular label. I don't know how many times I have to make a new one of tinfoil up because my cats always seem to, I find these all over the house. I move a stand, it's under a stand. There's probably 3 or 4 of them around here somewhere, which I haven't even found yet. They're great company though. Okay, so the scoring's done. We're going to add the blade. I think that might have hit the wall back there. I didn't have it back quite far enough, or it hit something. Oh, maybe not. Well, maybe it did. I had a little too close to the wall back there, and I think it might have kind of hit it as it was going, but I don't think we did any damage. Okay, so we'll take it off the template here, which come off quite nicely. Separate the 2 labels, so that's probably where we ran into a problem there, maybe, is didn't quite cut that as well as it should have. Okay, I'm just going to put that part aside here, and then I want to show you how I actually put these together. Now let's finish taking these little cutouts out, which doesn't seem to want to come out very good. I'm going to take that, cut it out a little bit better, but maybe that's where it was located here. I need to sharpen my blade a little bit more as well, maybe, by the looks of it. Oh, come on. Give me a hard time. Like, we can't go through this video perfect now, can we? Let's do it one more time to fix it. Anyways, I'm not going to bother. As you can see, my blade's not quite sharp enough, so there's what it's supposed to look like. Maybe we'll do this one instead, since that one's a little bit better. Let's do that. Okay, so the scoring wheel, where it scores on this side, I always find it's easier to add a fold here in the opposite direction that I really want it, because It's a little bit harder, I find, sometimes to find the, you can't even notice it on this side. So I find a little bit harder to do it that way first. So I just do it this way, just so the fold line shows up a little bit better. And then I flip it over and run it through again. And I usually run my nail over it to give it a nice sharp crease in it. Whoops, now I move that fold a little bit. Okay, now what I did is I put my craft glue in a smaller bottle that has a nice, you know, thin tip on it. And I find this works for this particular project, and this is the project that I made it for, because I want to run a nice thin bead of glue along the edge of this. And I only do one on each side. And then I flip this towards it, obviously, and I just throw a few paper clips in it while it dries. And then I'll do up some other ones while this one's drying. Just put a bunch of them aside. Now here you can see I already have one finished. So I'm just going to take the paper clip off of this one, and we'll put a bath tea, lavender and chamomile label on the front of that. And now sometimes what I do as well is I take, now this come together or come apart quite well. Sometimes I'll take a knit needle, not this in particular, and just run it down in case a little bit of glue got on the inside and it stuck to the inside of the package. But in this case, this one came out quite neatly, so I don't have to worry about that. I'll grab a bath tea here and slide that in. And fold over the top. Now you can see this here, I did change it so it lines up really nice, other than, as you can see, that didn't cut out that well there. But sometimes you have to maneuver these a little bit, because when it's laying flat, of course, yeah, they're going to line up. But once you put a bath tea package in there, it's going to bulk it up a little bit. So this is there's going to be some movement in it. So sometimes I had to play around with the movement on these a little bit. I don't know, I probably had to do it 3 or 4 times till I got it this good. So, and you'll see that when we look at it on the design package and when we're making the SVG file. So that's the end result. I always add these little T tags, which has the price tag and the UPC code on it. And I make it so these are easy to cut off, especially if you're giving them as gifts. And I do that with a lot of my product labels, so they can easily cut the price off when they're giving them as a gift. So this is the end. Now what we'll do is we'll head on over to the computer and we'll see how I set this up and designed it and made the SVG file match this package. Okay, so we'll see you back here in a minute.
Okay, now you've already seen me print this bath tea package through the Cricut Maker. I printed it off, put it through the Cricut Maker. I've, glued the edges, and you've seen how it was all put together and seen the end result. Well, now you're going to see how we got to that point. So, obviously, I've already done this once, but there is a couple of changes I want to make. These aren't quite in the right spot, so I'm going to move them slightly in this new design that I'm making up. And you're going to be able to see me do it right from scratch. So, obviously, your package might not look exactly like my packaging looks. I mean, you're going to design this whatever way you want to design it. And I'll also have the SVG file available for sale as well if you want to purchase that rather than design it yourself. But this gives you an idea if you want to get into it and do it on your own and use, a lot of these programs do the same thing, like Adobe Illustrator. This is Affinity Designer. So the steps I'm taking here are going to be the same in either program pretty well, or close to it. So first of all, what I want to do, now you can see here, all the solid lines are the cut lines. All this, the perforated or dashes are the fold lines. So, for example, this is cut out of the middle. And this is cut out here as well. Now, I want to move these two slightly. They're not quite in the right position that I want them in. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a new layer to put this new SVG design on it. Now, I'm going to call that SVG layer. And where I'm doing it over top of that artboard, I want it underneath of that artboard as well. Now, originally, when I first did this one, I just cut a big square out. Then I came along and I cut these out. But now that, you know, I'm a little bit more familiar with it, excuse me, and I've, you know, done it before, I guess, I know I can just go along and I have something to follow here as well. So I already have these lines here, these guidelines to show me where the, and I had that originally in my packaging anyways. I always put my guidelines in and show me where the packaging is. Now, one thing I do want to do, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, is I'm just going to make a rectangle here because I want to bring that rectangle over into this design so I can see where I had it on this file, and so I know that to move that a little bit. I'm just going to bring it over to here. And it's also the same size as that roughly, so I'm just going to go in a little bit larger, of course. I'm just going to bring the point down, size down to both these rectangles. Don't ask me why, I guess. I just something to make it easier for me, I think. Okay, so now we're going to start by doing the outside of it. So I'm going to zoom out of here. And let's start right from this point here. So you're going to take your pen tool. I'm on the SVG layer, and I'm going to take my pen tool, and I'm going to start here. Now this here kind of 1/4 inch all around the edge, that's the fold. That's where I fold it in and I glue them together. That way they close up for me. So this is the flap that comes up. So I'm going to start here with the pen and make sure I've chosen this, and I'm going to make this a 1 point. So I've already started there, and it's going to come down to the fold line. This is the fold line here. And then I always put these angles on it because I find, like, here's a fold line here as well. And I find if I have these angles on where they fold, they're not as bulky, like they don't get scrunched together. They fold a little bit better, I guess. They're not too bulky there. I'm going to zoom in here as I do it because sometimes when you're far away you don't line up quite where you want it to be. So we're just going to go around the whole edge of this. I don't have it marked here where I want to put this line, but you know, as long as you cut a little slice out of the corner there, it's okay. Now the bottom part, I also cut a lip off the bottom of it too, so then it's not coming right into the fold at the top. Okay, and this is where the two join. So this is where it actually gets folded here, and this is where it gets cut down through here. And we're just going to keep going all the way around the edge. There's where it folds again. And keep coming down here. I'm going to just zoom out a little bit so I can see where this is supposed to be. Okay, now I'm just going to join these and bring them right straight across to this one and double click. So it's all one. Now I'm going to grab this here node and I'm just going to bring that down so it lines up properly. To that line. Now that that's closed up, I'm going to fill that with white. There. Just so it's a little bit easier to look at. You're not looking at everything else in behind it. Now, I might as well continue putting the cutouts here like I do for my corners. So, let's put the box here. Because remember, this is going to get cut right down the middle here to separate the two, and then this is where it gets folded over. So I'm just going to put a little box in here. Separate them out, okay, and now I'd like to add, actually while we're up here at this box, since I already got a hold of it, let's grab this part underneath of it and let's just minus that out. So that cut that right out for me, and that's what we want. Okay, now we want to add the scalloped edge, and I see here where I made a mistake. I shouldn't have went straight across here. I should have came down through. So I guess this is something that'll teach you as well, is I'm going to fix that. So I'm going to add, I should have come across to here and stopped. Came down to here. Oh, sorry. Let's delete that out here. No, I was right the first time. I should have come down to here. Cut that edge out. And then I'm going to join these. Now you can tell that wasn't straight, obviously. So I'm just going to line this up the way it's supposed to be. Let's zoom in here. So since I forgot to put that in there, we're adding it. So now you can see if you do this yourself, then, you know, it's always good to mess up a little bit because then it kind of teaches you something as you go. So I don't mind. It's nice to do it right the first time too, but, you know, this will help teach you a little something. So I'm going to take that and we're going to minus that out. So there's how I should have done it to begin with. I should have went along and down that way. So there, perfect. So now we need to add our scalloped edges in here. So what I do is I grab the cloud tool, go in here. I already have it picked out on the top, but there's the cloud tool there. And I'm going to come along and I'm just going to, you know, make this cloud. And then we're going to kind of resize it. Now, I don't want this to come right down to the very, very bottom. I'm going to give it a little bit of space here. And we can also add more bubbles to it or fewer bubbles to it. And you can also change how deep the radius on the bubbles are. So, I mean, I don't want it, you know, really deep on them. I just want a slight little scalloped edge on it. You know, something like that there. And I'm just going to turn the opacity down so I can kind of see behind it what I'm doing. Okay, so here's where it's going to get cut off here. So I don't want this to come up and then back out like that. I want to make it, I'm going to bring this out to here. I want it to come about the middle of one of those scallops that come out. So I'm going to bring that into there. There, I think that's about right. I'm just going to add a few more and just to see how I want it. You know, I don't want too many, I think. I kind of like that. but I'm going to stretch it out. It's probably just going back to the way I had it to begin with. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is I'm bringing that cloud so it lines up with this here line here. Okay, let's just zoom in, see how good that is lined up to it. So I'm just trying to line that cloud up with that line. Here's the part I'm looking at right here, this section, to line it up with that. Okay, I'm going to come out. Now, I want to get rid of this bottom half of this cloud. So basically, in order to do that, I'm just going to grab a rectangle. I'm just going to come up over top of this, the cloud itself. I'm just going to take the line down to 0.5. Okay, and I just want to zoom in here a little bit. Just to make sure I'm right kind of where I want to be. So that's over top of the cloud, and that's already chosen. I'll zoom out here so you can see it a little bit better. And then I'm just going to grab the cloud below it by holding the shift key and grabbing that cloud. And then we're going to hit minus. So see that? How it got rid of that whole bottom half of the cloud. But then we have to make this cloud part, or I'll call it my scalloped edge at this point, part of this piece here. So I'm going to just turn the opacity back up on that. And then actually I don't want to do it yet because I want to copy that to the other side, and I can't copy it once it's joined. So I'm going to Control C and copy, Control V to paste, and then I'm going to hold the shift key down, just keeps it in the same spot. I'm just going to drag it over to here. Now I'm going to bring this in because I want to. Now the other thing, this also has to be on top of that one. Like the line has to be right lined up. Now I can see here that that's not perfect to the edge. So there. And this isn't quite perfect to the edge either. Nope, still isn't. I just gotta come in slightly here. There, that's a little better. So I'm going to zoom out of here so you can see what I'm doing. So I have that grabbed, and now I'm going to grab this bottom piece here, you know, the whole main part of it, and I'm going to join those. So I'm going to hit the add. Now that's all one piece there for me. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I just want to look at that scalloped edge compared to the one I have over here. You know, this has a little bit more scallops on it, but, you know, I like that one, but okay. It's close. We'll try something a little different. So now I'm just going to go back in here. Whoops. What am I doing here? And we have to move this because remember it wasn't quite lined up perfectly. I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit closer. Bring this over. We can use our arrows keys just to line that up a little bit better. And that's lined up pretty good on that edge. So we already have a hold of that, and I'm going to grab the main section here, hold the shift key down, and I'm going to join those. So there. So that's all joined. So we pretty well have the whole outside section here, other than we have to add these to it. Now, these were cut out of that, and actually, no, I am going to remake them again just so you can see how they're made as well. And I want to bring the opacity down on this again. I just want to bring it down so I can see through it. Okay, so in order to make these, we just take a rectangle. Now, I basically already brought this box over, so it's kind of the same size as the one over here. Now I'm going to change that to instead of 1.4, well, that's the width of it there. Actually, I'm just going to bring it over and check the width. I mean, I know how big I need them, so I'm going to try to make them the same width as that. So I had them before, because that was fine the way I had them. So I'm going to change the width to 1. Whoops. I went right off the screen there. Okay. Change the width to 1.2 and 0.17. I'm just going to make them even, that's all. And I'm going to bring that over here. Now, these lines here that I have, that marks the very center of this. So I know I need to put this on the center of that. Now, this is where the other one is here. So I'm going to move this down a little bit. And I'm not even going to measure it. I know I just have to move it down a little bit, probably about half the amount it was, so I can see from where that box is below it. And, you know, I might have to go back in and move it a little bit again. I mean, it still works the way I had it. It still works. It's just not perfectly lined up, because once you put a tea bag in there, it bulks it up a bit, so it doesn't quite line up. You got to take all that into consideration. So let me just come into here. Now remember, I changed the lines to 0.5. I'm going to want to change that back to 1 again. Okay. So now we're going to add a circle to this. And let's make the 0.22 is good. The bottom's 0.22, so we'll make top 0.22 just to make it, you know, perfectly round. And what you want to make sure as well is that it's lined up with this box in the center of it. So you're going to grab both of those and center that. So that moved it to the center. Now the other thing I forgot to do on this rectangle is we want to make the rounded corners. So we're going to choose the rounded corners, and I want the rounded corners to go up about, we'll bring it right up to 50%. There. That's normally how they look, I think. And then this circle, the middle of that circle is lined right up with the line on that. So we want to make this and that all one unit. So let's grab that, because I already had a hold of it, and we're going to add those. So there, it's all one. Now, I'm going to Control C, Control V, and hold the Shift key down because I want it to come straight across. Always lift your mouse button up first. I'm going to hold the Shift key down again, grab it, bring it straight across, and line it up with the center of that. Okay. So now we have to do the same thing with the one on the bottom here. Look how I have that hole. I have that quite a bit bigger, don't I? I kind of like that better. I guess it depends on what you're putting it on. I think I'm going to change that, so I'm just going to hit Control Z a couple times until I get back to this. I'm going to change this. I'm going to make this more of, I guess it's going to be more of an ellipse. So I brought it out to 0.33. Then I'm going to grab that, center that. There, I think that's a little bit better idea. And since I already have a hold in them both, I can automatically go like that, and it makes it all one piece. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so now we're going to copy that. Control C, Control V. Now I'm going to grab that, hold the Shift D down, and bring it across and center it. Whoops, Control Z. Control Z just backs up. I think most of you probably know that. There we go. So that's centered there. So I'm going to hold these, click that one in that one. I'm actually going to make a group out of these for now because I want to copy both of them and I want to paste both of them. And I'm going to hold the Shift key and bring it down here. Now, we're going to go by this, because remember I had that rectangle lined up to the one over there, and I want to bring it a little bit lower. So, I'm going to bring it down about, I think it was about halfway down the box. Okay, so that's where it is there. Let's move it up a tiny bit. And I'm just going to hold the shift key down and slide it over. And I'm going to grab that one and this one. And I want to line this up so they're both towards the edge. I don't want it to line, I don't want to select the bounds. I want it to first select it. So I'm going to grab this one first, this one second, and okay, well they lined up, so I'm just gonna move them now so they're centered. As long as they're all lined up together, it's okay. Same with the one I'm going to put up at the end here. So this one we want to come up that way, so I might as well copy and paste this one. No sense bringing it back up and flip it. Actually, no. Sorry. Control Z. I don't want to paste that. We need to flip this first. So we're going to mirror this, flip it vertically. There we go. Now I'm not sure. Now I'm not sure where I lined it up. That's one thing you have to remember, because this is being folded. So you want to make sure when it folds it, they line up that way as well. So you need to take, you know, a lot of things sometimes you don't think of right away. Okay. So I want to bring that down about halfway down the box. So now where I have it where I want it, I'm going to let go of it and hold my shift key and slide it over. And then I'm going to grab this, I want to grab this one first, and we're just going to line them up. And I guess they're already lined up pretty good. So really, for this bottom one here, we need this one to come across. So I'm going to copy and paste those, hold the shift key, and just drag that up to here. Now this one, whoops, I went and let go. What happened there is I let go of the shift key before I let go of the mouse. So it's important that you let go of the mouse button first, or else it kind of jumps over on you. Now, I want these to line up for sure. So I'm just going to grab this and bring it over. Because this is the one that's the main one on the bottom that everything's lining up to. So I move these other ones, you know, because of where this was located. I just want to zoom in here so I know I have that right where I want it. I think I actually made this other one a little bit bigger, so. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So I'm just going to zoom out here. I'm going to grab this one first, and then this one, and we're going to center those. I'm going to grab them all and center them. So they're all in this lined up. We know that. Okay. So I can get rid of these boxes. I don't need these on here anymore. And this other rectangle, that can go. Now, what we do have to do, and this is the last thing we need to do before we send it over, we want to add our fold lines as well, and our cut line down the center is, we need to cut these out. And you can't do that while they're grouped. I'm just going to grab it to show you, but that doesn't even show up there. So you need to ungroup these. So Control Shift G to ungroup it. So you're just going to do these one at a time. Grab your bottom one and hit minus. Now, of course, this here, Control Shift G. Not even on the front, or it's not even above it. Those curves should all actually be in this layer, but it is above the SVG layer, which is fine. So shift, and you're going to hold that one, and then you're going to minus. No. You know what? I was looking at that thinking it looked like it's underneath. Move to front. Arrange, move to front, and Control Shift G. Might as well ungroup it while I have a hold of them. And there's just one more curve here, that one. So we're going to arrange and move that one to the front. So now we just grab these one at a time and minus them out. See how that jumped to the back every time? I'm not really sure why that's happening. That's never happened to me before. I think that is in the front, isn't it? Maybe not. So that has to be in front of this here larger file in order for it to cut out. You can hold the Control Shift and that closed bracket and bring it to the front as well. Grab this one and minus, and then this last curve, and that's what we'll do. Hold Control Shift and that open bracket, and that brings it to the front, which is using your keyboard shortcuts is quicker when you use them. Okay. So now everything's cut out of there that we need cut out. So this is just one curve over here. Now let's turn this up to 100. Now the only thing else that we need to do here is we need to add our other cut line and our fold lines to it, because I like to include that. And actually I want to move this curve right under my SVG layer. There, and that's where I like to put everything, right under that one SVG layer. So this is where we're going to add the lines and the score line. So first of all, let's put the cut line in, because there's only one cut line here, and that's this one. I'm going to hold the Shift button down. I'm going to bring it right down to here. We're just going to make that one line right down. It's going to cut through that center one. And I'm going to name that cut line. So what you need to do is we're going to add our fold lines here. So here's where all the fold line has to go down this edge. Hold down the Shift key and double click here to stop it. Okay, and since I'm down this end now, I might as well start at this end. Start another one. Whoops. Hold down the Shift key, double click to stop it. So basically the fold line goes around the whole edge, the side edges, I guess I should say. Okay. There, so there's all our fold lines in, other than we have to put this fold line in too. And one more fold line goes right here. And like I said, I'm not going to stop this in the middle and have Cricut Maker pick it up and set it back down. I'm just going to take it right over the edge here. Okay. And I'm going to go in and call these score lines. Actually, and I like to group all my score lines together as well. And it makes it a lot easier when you go over to Cricut Maker if you do that. What is this? It's another score line. Score lines, there we go. Okay, so there you go. That's all made. So now what we're going to do, this is Artboard 1. I am going to, see, I have my package design all in a separate layer underneath Artboard 1. There's the SVG layer, there's the package. So if I shut off my SVG layer, you can, there's the package design. So you'd go in, you'd print that off. You know, you want to make sure everything's centered, but I always make sure everything's centered in the middle of it. And then if you put your SVG file right over top of it, then there's pretty well not much of a chance, unless for some reason you didn't have those guides put right together on your printer when it comes through the printer. So I'm going to turn the SVG on, and I'm going to shut off my package design here. So then what I do is I'm going to go into File and Export. And I'm going to export it as an SVG. And it's just Artboard 1 that I'm exporting. This one's called Artboard 2. And normally I name those, but in this case I didn't. So it's Artboard 1 we're exporting. And it saves you a lot of kilobytes too when you turn off your design underneath. Like I turn that off here. So just make sure that you turn that off, and then there's nothing getting mixed up. So you export that. Now I actually have Naturally Nice Designs. I have a file called Cricut, and I probably have one for tea and milk. Yes, I do. And I have my bath tea package here. So I'm going to call this my new bath tea package, because I did move those little hooks on there because I want them to line up. Not that they didn't work before, it just wasn't perfectly lined up once the tea bag was in it. No big deal. So I'm going to save that. So I'll just show you what the package looks like now that I move that. Hopefully I moved in the right direction, and we'll see how that goes. Okay. Okay, so we're in Cricut Maker here, and I'm going to upload that new bath tea package. So upload image, browse, and there's the new bath tea package SVG file there. I'm going to open that. Continue, import anyway, continue, and upload that. And I'm going to select that and add that to my canvas. Now the first thing I'm going to do, I use imperial measurement. So you leave it locked and put the 8.5 width across. So this should work out where you need it to work out to. Now you want to make sure both these X and Y axes stay at 0. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of that black background. So I'm going to turn the eye off of that. And I want to show you something here too. See where there's 2 of these? That's going to cut it a couple of times. So always watch for that. Now if I check the contour on that one, I'm just having a look at it, and that has 1 of each. I'm just going to mark that out. I just want to look at this one here and you'll see what I'm talking about. See how that one has a whole bunch of them there? So I know I definitely want to hide that one. Whoops. I definitely want to hide that one. I must have minus 1 of those off. There we go. I didn't want to take that off there, so I just put it back on. I must have hit that when I clicked out of it by a mistake. So these 2 here, usually that ends up with this, and it's funny that went in separately. So this one here is the basic cut that comes through the center, so that divides those 2 packages in half. So the rest of these here are all my score lines. So I'm going to grab them all at once by holding the shift key down and going up here and clicking score. So that changed all the score lines where we need them. And then these 2 anchor squares that I have up in the 2 corners, I'm going to change those to my pen tool. There we go, because I don't like cutting them out. Okay, so it's all set up, other than, we can't forget, we need to attach it. And then we can go ahead and make it. And then of course I already showed you in the beginning how it comes off of the Cricut Maker and what the actual end result looks like. So, thank you for watching. Click the like button if you like it. I think next time I might do a box similar to the one that I put my stainless steel soap in. And I'll probably be making a bunch of different size soap boxes available as well. So thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, and you have a naturally nice day.